what shape the economics of a place takes depends on the value I accord to this object or that object, right? For example, jewelry. Why do you go after jewelry? I'm not talking of those who look at gold or silver as investment. But why do most people rush after diamonds or rings or necklaces or precious stones or whatever? It's a subjective decision, right? And so what happens therefore? The price of a stone rises greatly. And you work very hard to one day to come to a situation when you'll be able to afford that stone. And it's just a stone. Now, does the stone intrinsically carry that much value? Does the stone have something inside of itself, something innate to it that is very valuable? Hardly anything. It's your own subjective value system. It's your own conditioning that's telling you that you must have that stone. And to have that stone, you'll hop jobs. You may even take a loan. You may save for a long time so that ultimately you may have that stone, right? Spirituality tells you what exactly is valuable in life. If you are a spiritual person, you are unlikely to attach great value to just a metal or a stone. And can you imagine how much hardship can this wisdom save you from? Otherwise, you can spend your entire life running after things that just do not matter. Good spirituality is therefore good economics. If you are not a spiritual person, then you will make all economically unwise decisions in your life, as people do. We do not know what to purchase. We do not know what really is valuable, even in the material domain. I'm not merely talking of courage or compassion or wisdom or relationships. I'm talking of something very material and tangible. How do you decide, for example, which car to purchase? How do you decide whether you need to rent a house or buy it? Tell me, please. Isn't it a subjective decision? Isn't it a thing of your own wisdom? And if you're not wise enough, then you will end up buying a house where a rented thing might have sufficed. And you very well know what's the duration of the home loan EMI, 20 years. Now for 20 years, you are in bondage. It will look like a financial transaction. A certain amount is deducted from your bank account every month. But what has happened is actually a spiritually unwise decision. You didn't know whether that house is really of great utility to you. And why didn't you know that? Because you do not know who you are and therefore what you really need. When you do not know who you are and what you really need, then you just start asking for things that everybody in the society is going after. You will say, oh, everybody is buying a house, so I too need to buy a house. You didn't really need the house, but you bought the house. Even decisions concerning relationships have great financial impacts. Don't you know that? Now you do not know who you are and therefore what's the purpose of your life. And you get married. And you get married to a guy who says you will have to quit your job if you marry me. You'll have to relocate to another city and if you want, you may find a job there. Now don't you see that a spiritual decision is having definite financial repercussions? A spiritual or an unspiritual decision, because there was no spirituality probably involved in your decision to get into a relationship. Similarly, the decision to have a baby. Do you understand the kind of economics that are attached to adding that little member to your household? It's not merely a biological or emotional thing. It's a big, huge financial project to give birth. But we do not know. And when we do not know what to do with life, then we keep on taking stupid decisions that ruin us, even in the financial and economic sense. See, why do people go bankrupt? It's not necessarily because they didn't earn. Mostly it is because they didn't know where to spend. They also never had their priorities clear in life. And to have your priorities clear in life is a spiritual thing. If you are not spiritual, how will you know what to do in life? Now, you all are here and pursuing a professional course. And it's possible, it does happen. I hope it doesn't happen here. That a girl like you gets a decent job in a far off city, and the parents, because they come from a conservative mindset and they don't have their minds clear, they just don't allow her to go that far away to work. Now, don't you see that conservatism has had financial costs? The girl could have gone somewhere, earned for herself, and probably also brought some prosperity to the house. But lack of spiritual clarity has prevented financial gains. You look at the stock markets, for example. Why do people lose so much there? The primary reasons are fear and greed. You invest much more than you can really afford. And when things don't go your way, you start panicking. And then you book losses. Let it be very clear that spirituality and worldliness are not two separate domains. Even to succeed in the world, you need to be spiritual. And that's the reason why spirituality is so essential. If you are not spiritual, the punishment will not be that you will be denied entry into some heaven. Heaven, etc. anyway don't exist. The punishment of not being spiritual is that you lead a very bad, a very ruined worldly life. And that includes an economic life, a ruined economic life. The fellow just does not know what to do with material objects. Instead of spending 300 rupees on a book, he would rather buy a pizza. And this is a financial transaction, right? You can spend 300 rupees on a book, or you could buy a pizza. But you do not know what to give a higher priority to. Therefore, you just splurge your money, waste it just anywhere. Even to be smart with money matters, you require spiritual insight. And that applies at the micro level, also at the macro level. You look at nations. The finance minister, for example, presents the budget. Now, what do you give a higher priority to? Subsidizing electricity or taking care of education and health? If the fundamentals, the inner spiritual fundamentals are not clear, then you will present a budget that will give freebies to your constituency, your voter group, instead of putting the money in the right place. So it is not merely the person. Even nations Actually, the entire world suffers when the one making the economic decision is spiritually bankrupt. There are countries that spend an unbelievable proportion of their annual budget in just procuring arms. North Korea, for example. Now, people there are starving actually. The standard of living, the quality of life is very low. But all the money is being spent in being battle ready. Do you see how an unwise person can ruin the economy itself? Are you seeing this? The mistake that we make is we think that to learn spirituality we have to go to one person. And the world and its matters are an altogether different thing. So to succeed in the worldly domain, we have to listen to other people. That's just not right. Spirituality is there to tell you exactly what to do in this world, which object to give value to, which object to discard and give no value to. There are objects that you should not bring home even if they are available for free. And there are objects that you should bring home irrespective of how costly they are. And that kind of thing only spirituality can tell you. What is it that you must always value and what is it that you must never spend your money on?